that was a whole thing. Um, yeah, that's impressive. There was things moving and everything. Hi, I'm John Hartness, and I am the founder and publisher of Falstaff Books. We are a small press based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight here at LibertyCon 33 virtual. Like everybody, I wish that we could all be together in physical space, but the world is what the world is. So thanks for joining me. And I'm going to take the next, I don't know, 50 minutes maybe, and talk about some of the exciting things we've got coming here at Falstaff Books and some of the fantastic releases we've done this year. And also, we've got a really big announcement that we're debuting here at LibertyCon. This is the first time anybody's ever heard about this new thing we're starting. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, because now they know that we're Falstaff Books, and I'll start telling you a little bit about Falstaff. As I mentioned, we're an independent publisher based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We started in 2016, and since then we've published somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 titles. We average about 50 titles every year, and that's a ridiculous number for a press as young and small as we are, but somehow we manage. We have published titles from such familiar faces as David B. Coe. We've published A.J. Hartley. We've published R.S. Belcher. Also some LibertyCon past guests, Gail Z. Martin. We've published several books by her and her husband, Larry N. Martin. Darren Kennedy's been at LibertyCon quite a few times. So we do a lot of work with Southern authors. And because I've always been very active on the Southeastern convention circuit, starting next year, Falstaff Books is going to initiate a new program so that we can give back to the Southeastern convention circuit and the writers that are represented by the different cons that have supported us for so many years. So let's hit the next slide. And you can be the first to hear about the Falstaff Books Emerging Author Award. This is what happens when my associate publisher and I are trapped in a car too long. We come up with ideas. I think they're great ideas. And generally, if Melissa doesn't try to talk me out of the idea, it's probably pretty good. So we're going to, every year moving forward, we will celebrate the work of one emerging author. So let's hit the next slide, and I can tell you a little about what the rules are and who the award is designed to support. Eligible writers are from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Virginia. How did I pick those states? Well, that's where we do conventions. That's the area that we have the greatest reach, and that's where all the conventions that have really supported us over the years are located. So this is our way to give back to the writing community in the Southeast, except for Florida, because Florida's a long way from Charlotte, North Carolina. What is the definition of an emerging author? Your first solo full-length work in a calendar year. So, for example, if you publish your first full-length novella or novel in 2021, then you are eligible for the award in 2022, in our first ever year. How do we determine eligibility? If you are published by a traditional publisher, and I'm not talking just your big houses like Random House, Penguin, Bain, not just the big folks, but smaller presses like Falstaff, like Chris Kennedy Publishing, like Copper Dog, any of the reputable small presses those works are also eligible. Vanity Press works are not eligible. So if you pay to play, if you pay to have your book published and you're not self-publishing, then you're not eligible, because I'm sorry, you kind of got taken by a scam, and I feel really bad for you, but I'm not giving you an award for it. Self-published works are eligible. If you put out your first full-length self-published book and sell at least 250 copies, you're eligible. A collaboration with an established author is not eligible. So if I co-write a book with somebody, that book is not eligible. If two brand new authors co-write a book and they debut, then they're eligible. There is no fee to enter the contest. Over the next month, we'll have an email address set up so that people will be able to email the nominations in. The award, I mean, hey, you gotta give something, right? Otherwise, what's the point? The award is a trophy that will be presented at Con Carolinas each year, along with 2 complimentary admissions to Con Carolinas, and we will cover 2 nights in the convention hotel. Why did we pick Con Carolinas? Because we're a Charlotte-based company, and that's the convention that takes place in Charlotte. I love all of the other conventions we attend, but that's the one that's 15 minutes from my house. So that's the one where we're going to give away the award. Submissions will be open until February 1st, and finalists will be announced in April. The award will be presented at the Con Carolinas version of this panel. We do this roadshow at Con Carolinas every year, and now the award presentation will be part of that panel. Submissions will open October 1st, so keep an eye on our website. But if you really want to know what's going on with Falstaff Books and make sure you don't miss any information about the award, you should join our Misfit Toys Facebook group. That is constantly being updated. It's a very active community, and that's a really great place to keep track of what's going on. So that's the award. That's our big announcement. And boy, I wish I was actually with you guys so that I could see some excitement, because my cat is not impressed. My cat is not awake. Yeah. But now let's move on and let's talk about some of the things we've released this year. So let's hit that next slide and talk about our 2021 releases. 2020 was a rough year for everybody. We usually do 24 to 30 conventions every year. In 2020, we did 3. And I hosted one of them. So we attended 2 conventions. 2021, we're back. We have a lot of great releases. So much stuff is in the pipeline. We're currently signing books all the way out to 2025. So if you've got a great project that you really want to pitch to me and you really want to see it hit the street by the end of this year, yeah, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So we're fortunate to be backed up. We're fortunate to be working with a host of fantastic authors like the ones we're going to talk about. So let's hit the next slide. Weaver's Folly by Sarah Madsen is the first book in the Shadow Spinner Chronicles. If you think that Elf on a Shelf is lame, then you're going to love this, because it's elves on motorcycles. And that's way cooler than shelves. The Shadow Spinner Chronicles is a contemporary urban fantasy set in Atlanta with plenty of Atlanta landmarks. I could almost smell the grease from Manny's pub reading the book. It's going to be it's at least a 3-book series. So we're really excited to have Sarah as part of the Falstaff Books family. She also just had her first module published in a Wizards of the Coast publication. She had one of the modules in the Candlekeep Mysteries that just came out a month or two ago. So if you're a D&D nerd, you should check out Candlekeep Mysteries. If you're a D&D and book nerd, you should grab Weaver's Folly. You should grab Weaver's Folly no matter what flavor of nerd you are. It's a great book. It's fast-paced. It's... Give me a second. Much better. It's a fast-paced read. It's an exciting ride, and I'm really looking forward to working on the second one. Next slide. You know, I should scroll down myself so that I know what's coming. Oh, cool. Mason-Dixon Monster Hunter by Eric R. Asher. The Mason-Dixon series of novellas was one of the very first Bubba the Monster Hunter spin-offs that I recruited someone else to do. And I recruited Eric off of a panel at Dragon Con when we were walking down the hall of the Westin and said, "Hey, Eric, you should write something for me now that I have a publishing company." And he said, "Okay, what?" Oh, maybe I hadn't thought that through yet. So we talked about it, and since Eric is from the St. Louis area, he thought that he could find all kinds of fun cryptids in Missouri. So he said, "Why don't I do a Missouri Monster Hunter?" Okay. Well, he's done 4 novellas with Mason-Dixon. There are at least another 4 coming, but the first season is now collected in hardcover, paperback, and audiobook, and ebook, of course. Do I have that one up here? Nope. So you can get out there and pick up Mason-Dixon Monster Hunter. It's hilarious horror comedy for people who love Ash versus the Evil Dead, or Tucker and Dale versus Evil, that kind of stuff. What's next? I mentioned Gail Martin. So Gail and Larry Martin write multiple different novella series for us, and this is their Joe Mack series from the Shadow Council archives. Just like we did spin-offs of the Bubba the Monster Hunter universe, these are spin-offs of the Quincy Harker Demon Hunter universe. The Shadow Council is a shadowy group that that has watched over supernatural goings-on throughout history, and it's basically folk heroes fighting monsters, kind of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen without the really crap movie ending, because boy, that thing fell apart in the last 10 minutes. But the Legend of Joe Mack, or Joe Magarak, is a Polish steel worker who sold his soul to an old god and is now immortal and has the ability to turn his body to steel. So now Joe Mack is in Chicago, and he is hunting down bad guys and hanging out in speakeasies because, I mean, I would. So Chicagoland is the third in the first set of Joe Mack novels. They also write the Wasteland Marshals novels, which is kind of like a post-apocalyptic supernatural. It's 2 guys riding around, kicking ass, taking names, and they also write the Spell, Salt, and Steel series, which are the Mark Wojcik novellas, and that is their entry into the Bubba the Monster Hunter universe. What's next? I actually know what's next because now I'm keeping up with the slides. The Steel Rose is the second in the Boar King's Honor trilogy from Nancy Northcott. This is part of our Falstaff Crush line. This is a historical paranormal romance with a dragon. The Boar King's Honor trilogy is centered on a family that is cursed to redeem Richard III, because Richard III has been condemned for many years for murdering his nephews. And in this book and in the author's research, the premise is that Richard III didn't actually kill his nephews. So now the task to clear his name and restore the Boar King's honor is passed down from this family from generation to generation. And there's magic and kissing. They're great books. They definitely live up to the really awesome covers that we get for these titles. So you should absolutely check that one out. And next, Werewolves of South Carolina? That doesn't fit the meter of the song at all, but that's what it is. One with the Wolf is the first collection of the Cold Stone case files. It's the first volume. It, again, collects 4 novellas that make one story, and it's the story of James Coldstone, who is a millionaire playboy, ne'er-do-well werewolf. Yeah. His father was also a werewolf and a serial killer. James is a good guy most of the time, and his best friend is a cop most of the time. So it's very much a buddy cop werewolf series. It feels like Psych with a lot more body hair. There's a lot of serious action, a lot of really great fights and mysteries and police procedural elements, and a police detective smacking your protagonist on the nose with a rolled up newspaper because he's not always paper trained. So there's a lot of humor in it as well. And the Cold Stone case files they're currently available on ebook, audio, and ebook, paperback, and hardcover. We're working towards audio. Next up, for people who like their comedy a little more bizarre and obscure, or a little more inspired by Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett, The Endless Adventures of Hand and Strike is a side novella to Steve Wetherell's The Doomsayer Journeys. That's his, I don't know, call it science fantasy novel series. And it's swashbuckling, hacky, slashy fun. It really is a great follow-up to Douglas Adams or Terry Pratchett or some of that dry and yet absurd British comedy. So that one will be coming out on audio later this year. It's now available in ebook and paperback. Next up, we all know Sherlock Holmes, right? We all know Dr. Watson. If we think really hard, we can remember Mrs. Hudson, their landlady. Did you ever want to see Sherlock Holmes' landlady naked? Neither did Dr. Watson. And yet, here we are. Holmes is theoretically dead, and Watson has landed in the middle of a bunch of butt-naked women making magic in the moonlight. Not like that, you pervert. Like real magic, like poof and stuff. Dr. Watson and the Ladies' Club Coven is the second Dr. Watson novella from Alexandra Christian, and it's another one of the Shadow Council Archives novellas. It's another piece of that historical urban fantasy series spinning off from the Quincy Harker Demon Hunter series. It's darker than a lot of the stuff that we've recently talked about. Nobody's getting thwacked on the nose with a newspaper, but still, you come crashing down into the middle of a bunch of naked witches, and it's funny. So there is always an element of comedy. Next up, I knew I had this one with me. The Waterblade is the first in Stuart Jaffe's Ridnight Mysteries trilogy. This is a high fantasy mystery trilogy where each volume takes a different type of mystery and runs the characters through having to solve it. In the first one, it's a standard old murder mystery. Somebody done it, and pardon me, somebody done it, and Zev Asterling's got to figure out who. In the meantime, there's war, there's death, there's famine, and there's crazy people pulling out their teeth and casting magic with their poop. Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. They are making magic with poop. It's worse than it sounds. It's really nasty, but the books are friggin' fantastic. So even though it's all poop magic, I kind of just like saying poop magic. Even though it's all poop magic, the mysteries are fantastic. The action is great. The characters are really well rounded. You really begin to care about them in book one. And by the time we get to the end of the trilogy, which will be out this summer, we are releasing these June, July, and August. So you can pick them all up by Labor Day. So they all release this summer, and by the end, we really, really care about these characters. I can't recommend this book enough. Next up, everybody loves dragons, right? Everybody loves sex, right? Well, most people love sex. Dragon sex. Do I really need to say anything else? It's a romance novel about a shapeshifter, and there's dragon banging. What more do you want out of life? This is the second of Raylan Blue's Dragon's Keep novels for us. And this is another of our Falstaff Crush titles. Falstaff Crush is our romance line. And this follows on her 2019 release, Fire Breather. There are two more books coming in this series, and it's all about a woman and her dragon trying to figure out how to get along in the world. Next up, this is our newest release, like yesterday newest. It's Friday, right? Yeah. This released yesterday. The Royal Nothings is the first book of the Giftborn Chronicles, which is the debut series from Drew Bailey. And it is a fantastic, grimdark sword and sorcery, cut them up and leave them bleeding to death. High fantasy. I don't know the word for a 5-book series. Quintology? Whatever. Series. There's going to be 5 books. They're all badass. You should check it out. Next. That's the wrong next. Live theater. Oh, yeah. I edited this one. Dragon Legacy by Chris Jackson. Chris has written... He's written about as many books as I've read. He's written for all kinds of different tie-in properties, all kinds of original stuff. This wraps up his Dragons of Boston trilogy, and it'll be coming out next month. The Dragons of Boston series is kind of like a much shorter Dan Brown book meets a little bit of Jurassic Park. Archaeologist finds this old fossil, there's dust, and then there's dragon. So it has a veneer of fantasy novel to it, but it's really more a techno thriller as people try to decipher what is turning people into dragons, how to stop turning people into dragons, and how maybe to be a little less dragony when you're around people you don't want to, well, eat. So Dragon Legacy is the third book, Dragon Dreams is the first, and Dragon Nemesis is the second. Those are both already available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Everything that's available you can get from falstaffbooks.com, and Dragon Legacy will be out next month. So if you go ahead and read the first two, then as soon as this hits, you'll be ready. Next up. Oh, that guy sucks. Oh, wait. No, that guy's me. Blood, Sweat, and Tears is Bubba the Monster Hunter Season 5. Y'all, things have gotten kind of rough for old Bubba. He went off to Fairyland, fought a dragon, and lost his damn job. Poor dude has to figure out how to make a living again. And then things get real sideways. Blood, Sweat, and Tears is the 5th installment in the long-running Bubba the Monster Hunter series. It started off with short stories back in 2012, and then we morphed it into novellas, and this is a collection of 4 novellas: Born to be Wild, Swamp Music. Oh, shit, I forgot what the third one is. Houses of the Holy, and Blaze of Glory is the 4th. So Blood, Sweat, and Tears is horror comedy with a heart and a whole lot of explosions. And you will learn more about Lizard Man cloacas than you ever wanted to know, because I had to learn more about it to research a fight scene than I ever wanted to know. And if I have to know it, that means y'all have to know it. So you've been warned, all right? Next up. I literally just finished setting up the pre-order for this book before I came to do this panel. So The Enchanted Rose is book 2 of The Wolf and the Nun, the historical paranormal romance series from Emily Leverett. This is another Falstaff Crush title, and these are stories adapted from the poems of Marie de France, who was a medieval female poet. So Emily Leverett is a scholar and a medievalist and a novelist, and she's taken some of these poems and blown them up into whole big stories with werewolves and demons and stuff. So werewolves, kissing, rock on. And that's just through July. That doesn't cover everything we've released, and it sure doesn't cover everything we've got coming. So let's just jump 2 slides, because we don't need that transition slide. Yeah, see, that's pretty, but still to come in 2021, The Waters of Taladoro and Waterfire by Stuart Jaffe. And there's a typo in my slideshow. Oops. This is what you get when you build the slideshow before everything's finalized with the book. Those are the next 2 books in the Ridnight Mysteries. Book 2 is a locked room mystery. So you really want to check these out if you like mysteries and want and love magic. Comes a Reckoning is book 8 in the Quincy Harker Demon Hunter series. That'll be coming out in August. And that wraps up a 2-year story arc for Quincy Harker and his crew. I'm excited to bring this story to a close and move on to new Harker stuff. It's not the end of Quincy Harker. It's just the end of this particular story arc. Trader's Spring is the 3rd in the Icefod Chronicles from Emily Leverett and Sarah Adams. This is a contemporary fantasy series about a woman who she's got her life all planned out. She knows exactly what's going on until she finds out that she's really magical and she's half fairy. And if she doesn't go to fairyland and find her deadbeat dad and get him to acknowledge her, her magic's going to kill her. Look, we all have family issues. Most of us just don't have family issues. They're going to kill us. Okay, maybe That may be more common than I think. Anyway, book 3 is Trader Spring, and it is fantastic. It is the strongest book in the series. It always should. Your most recent book should always be the strongest book in the series. But I can't wait to get this one out into the world so that everybody can see what's going on. The Baronet Unleashed is another Falstaff Crush release from Lucy Blue, who's our senior editor on the Falstaff Crush line. This is one of her Stella Hart mysteries. These are 1920s period romantic mysteries. These have no supernatural elements. They're just straight up fun, lighthearted period romantic mysteries. Sketched by David Allen Jones. I always want to say David Allen Coe, but it's very different and also still alive. Sketched follows up on Drawn, which was his book we released a couple of years ago. This is the second in his Succubus series. It's another urban fantasy series. Lots of action, lots of fighting, shooting, magicking, and stuff. So get out there and check that one out. Knights Ascendant from Paul Barrett and Steve Murphy is a space opera that's coming. It's space opera. It's way in the pew pew zoom zoom kind of science fiction, which is what I dig, as opposed to the really hard sci-fi that I don't understand the science behind. So Knights Ascendant follows on Knight Errant, which was released a couple of years ago. It comes out later this summer. Dream Shattered is the third in Leanne Rittel's Dream Thief series, and people steal dreams, and they steal dreams because sometimes pieces of your dreams make really terrible things happen in the world. So by stealing dreams, they make sure that bad things don't happen. Except the leading guy missed one. So now he's got to go hunt it down, and it's a whole thing. And now we're in book 3 of Hunting It Down. The Dream Thief is the first book, so you should get all of those. Cut and Died by J.D. Blackrose. Y'all, this is some of the funniest stuff I've ever read. The first line, the protagonist woke up and couldn't find his penis because he's a zombie. And things rot and fall off. And it just goes more sideways from there. It is the Waylon Jenkins series. And yeah, the name was intentional. And in each book, there is worked somewhere into the text a Waylon Jennings song title. And every one of the books, Pluck and Cover, Cut and Died, they all have beauty salon parody names because Waylon Jenkins is the makeup artist to the stars. So these are hilarious. They're great summer beach reads when you don't want something really heavy and you probably don't want your grandmother reading your book. So yeah, starting off where the lead of the book can't find his penis will probably put grandma right off her feed. Next up. Yeah, we've got so much stuff coming in 2021 that I had to have 2 slides, and this still doesn't cover everything. Arsenic and Alibis is a cozy mystery series coming from E.M. Kaplan. The Murder of Cricket Kugler is a weird Western from Tamsin Silver. This finishes out her Untold Legends trilogy, which started with The Curse of Billy the Kid, which we released last year, and The Torment of Richard Brewer, which was the second book that came out last year. Children of Menlo Park by Jessica Nettles is her debut novel, and it is Pinkerton's Fight Cthulhu with airships. It's friggin' awesome. So you should definitely check that one out. Devil Makes 3 by Lucy Blue. You've seen her name earlier attached to a romance novel, and this is not that. This is one of my favorite Southern Gothic books that we've ever produced. I am so excited for this book. I'm working on final edits on it right now. I can't wait to put it out in the world. Here's another one I can change because the short fiction collection from New York Times bestseller Kat Richardson now has a title. So Through the Gray will be a short story collection from Kat Richardson, who's the creator of the Grey Walker urban fantasy series. So if you loved that, you'll want to pick this up and get some Grey Walker shorts and some unreleased short stories. Next up, Falstaff Crush, like I mentioned a couple of times, that's our romance line. And it is the only line for which we are currently open for submissions. We do have a couple of slots next year in the Falstaff Crush production line. We are not open to unsolicited or unagented submissions. So if you find me at a convention and we talk and I say, send it to me, that's a solicited submission. But if you have a paranormal romance novel that's awesome and you want to send it in to Falstaff Crush, you can go ahead and submit that without me asking for it. Next slide. And this is our cool new thing. We started with a new thing, and then we're going to end with a new thing because Falstaff Sleuth is our mystery line, which is getting kicked off with Arsenic and Alibis from E.M. Kaplan. We're going to have all kinds of different mysteries. We're starting with cozies, but we will go into paranormal mysteries. The sequel to Amazing Grace, my book from a few years ago, will come out as a Falstaff Sleuth title, and mysteries will be coming out branded as Falstaff Sleuth. So we're excited about having a way to focus the marketing for those titles. And that is all I have. So let's hit that next slide so people have our URLs. And you can, like I said earlier, you can join us on Facebook and hit up the Misfit Toys Facebook group. That's a great way to interact with us and our authors. It's also the best way to keep track of everything else that's going on. And you can also join our newsletter list. And look, we really hope to see everybody next year in person. So thanks for joining me. I hope to see you all soon. Okay, we have a question. Are we planning to do anything with Kindle Vella? Not yet. I want to wait and see how it shakes out and see what the money looks like. I don't really know how lucrative it's going to be to start. The way they've currently structured buying serialized stories and compensating writers for serialized stories, it looks like it's going to make Amazon a bunch of money. I don't know if it's going to make writers a bunch of money. So I want to give it 6 months or so, see how it goes, see what people are telling me. So ask me again at LibertyCon next year, and I might have a different answer. But for right now, we're not looking at Kindle Vella. If there are no more questions, then I will thank you all for hanging out, and we can end right here on the promo slide.